Hello and welcome back to the David 67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a reflection on the rather disappointing January transfer window. In essence, we got two players in plus signed Kieran Tierney on a pre-contract during the January transfer window, and we let five players go, plus we're going to lose Daniel Cummings at the end of this season on a pre-contract. So in essence, 2+1 in, 5+1 out. Although there is a prospect that a couple of the five who've left may come back depending on how their loans go and whether Olympiacos take up the loan offer then purchase price for Luis Palma. And obviously the Stephen Welsh deal was simply a loan, but Mechlin would be entirely within their rights to take up offering Celtic a transfer fee, even though there isn't one currently attached to that loan deal. I did plan to do a wee transfer roundup at the end of the transfer window around about midnight last night. However, around about 10:30, just because absolutely nothing was happening and it didn't look like anything was going to happen, I fell asleep and then woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and thought, better not do a transfer video now. I'll do it again in the morning instead. So apologies for those who may have stayed up to watch a transfer roundup video after midnight, but I fell asleep and so couldn't do the video last night. So in the end, rather disappointing. However, I don't think there's any mileage in blaming anybody. A lot of fans and pundits, etc., have jumped on and blamed the board for penny pinching. I don't personally see that. I think Celtic put in plenty of offers, made lots of clubs, lots of good offers, but decided that paying double the price for Kiesgarden, double the price for Orshetter, a massive upgrade for Strelic just wasn't financially sensible, especially as it does look like all those three clubs are happier to deal with letting their star players leave the club in the summer rather than mid-season when all three are pushing towards league titles, cups, and qualification for Europe next season. By the same token, Celtic received quite a number of offers for players during the transfer window. We took up the offers for Burnaby and for Kyogo and Luis Palma, and for Stephen Welsh also. And Barcelona chose to recall Alex Valley. I suspect that's because they felt that he wasn't getting enough first team games under Brendan Rodgers, and it didn't look like Brendan Rodgers was planning to use Valley more in the second half of the season, and so understandably Barcelona recalled their player Alex Valley and sent him off to Como, where it's expected his progression will continue more and more as their manager is much keener to give Valley the starting spot for the rest of the season. According to lots of stories, Celtic turned down numerous bids for Johnny Kenny, both as transfers and as loans, and also resisted multiple upgrade offers from West Ham to take Daniel Cummings now rather than in the summer. It does look like Celtic will get a compensation fee of maybe £300,000-400,000, and so losing out on a couple of £100,000 to let Cummings go now would have been bad financial sense too, and so Celtic quite rightly resisted the temptation of letting Cummings go early, resisted the temptation of letting Kenny go in the January transfer window, and so they are both available as backups. And it does look like Brendan Rodgers is planning to go with Ida as his number one striker and Dyson Maida as his backup striker. Also has to be remembered that players such as Jota and Kuhn and Forrest and Yang all can fill in as strikers, and Forrest did have relative success in the past. Kuhn and Yang have both done so in the earlier parts of the career, and Jota has all the skills as a finisher, capable with right foot, left foot, great pace, good anticipation, and also good in the air. No reason why Jota couldn't be played from time to time as a central striker. And I think he actually may flourish in that role. once he's fully match fit and match ready in 2 or 3 weeks' time. So obviously rather disappointed. I think with Celtic probably should have got more players in. I think also at the same time we probably shouldn't have released Kyogo and Luis Palma until we definitely had a replacement in. I think losing Varley was unavoidable. I think losing Welsh was a reasonable decision to get him important game time. Nobody rated Barnaby. I don't think Barnaby had any chance of getting into a Brendan Rodgers team ever again, and so we made great gains in terms of a big profit on the Barnaby deal. We made £10 million for a player now aged 30, whose career is going to be on the downward spiral rather than upward spiral in Kyogo, and also let Luis Palma go away on loan. And it would look like if Olympiacos do take up the offer, we'll be getting paid the same amount of money for Luis Palma leaving us to go to Greece as we paid for Luis Palma to come from Greece 18 months ago. A lot of clubs all around UK and all around Europe were rather quiet in the transfer window. Plenty of big teams in England and around Europe made no signings at all. Pretty much many of the big teams just kept their squad as it was. A few teams added a player here and there, and certainly looking at all of the deadline day deals, I think Celtic signing Jeffrey Schlupp was the biggest and bestest deal of anybody in Scotland signing a player on the final day of the transfer window. A lot of clubs seem to be signing bits and pieces, squad players. I don't see any of the players who've been signed by any of the other Scottish teams yesterday being any great shakes or successes in the last 4 or 5 months of this season. Coming back to Jeffrey Schlupp, I think he is actually a very experienced, very versatile player. He can play left back, which I think is the role that we will play him at. However, he can push forward into left midfield, left wing. Also has played on many occasions central midfield, defensive midfield, right wing, even as striker, and has also a couple of times played as a centre back. And so, in essence, apart from right back and goalkeeper, he's played every position on the pitch professionally. Although I do see Celtic using him primarily as the number 2 left back, and I think actually once Schlupp gets integrated and blended into the squad, I could easily see him later in the season becoming Celtic's number 1 left back in preparation for Kieran Tierney coming back in the summer to be our number 1 left back. I also see in the summer transfer window, assuming that Greg Taylor does leave the club, I can certainly see Celtic signing permanently a young left back to develop further and further, maybe bringing someone like Josh Doig back from Europe, or looking to bring in 1 or 2 young, very promising left backs from other Scottish teams. Many players suggesting Penrice from Hearts might well be a very good option at the left back in the long term, as a player who is good enough to play domestically for Celtic in the Scottish games, and with time developing into European class left back. All that though is speculation. Similarly, I see Celtic going back for 1 or 2 strikers in the summer, and I can also see Celtic going back in for Lennon Miller of Motherwell to bolster the midfield, and also I think Lennon Miller would be a good long-term option as a player who's good enough to start for Celtics in domestic games, and in time could turn into being our new Callum McGregor, our new Paul McStay, our new Scott Brown, i.e. a star player domestically and on the European stage. So, for me, there's no real evidence that Celtic were penny pinching. Plenty of offers, plenty of times players said, I don't want to come to Celtic because Scotland is a low prestige league. Many international managers don't recognise the Scottish League as being a league they want their players to play in if they have international aspirations. And also, as many clubs, just like Celtic, They are generally reluctant to sell players in the mid-season, and so teams such as Brøndby, Sarpsborg, Slovan Bratislava, and many others decided they weren't going to sell their best players mid-season, no matter what the offer was, because they had the Champions League pot or the Europa League pot to hope for next season. Teams such as Brøndby and Slovan Bratislava didn't want to lose their best players for risking not getting into the next Champions League, where the riches are so great. Another 5 million for 4 or 5 million for Kiesgarden could be balanced out by 20 million plus, basically for just qualifying for the next Champions League. So I think lots of clubs all around Europe made the right decision to keep hold of their players. Celtic did let go one of our best players in Kyogo, although it does look like he was rather unhappy and unsettled and had been itching to get away from Celtic for the last year or so. As for the last 12 months or so, he had said that his plan was to move to another European club in a bigger league for a couple of years, and then going back to Japan at the age of 32, 33 to play a few seasons there, and then retiring in his mid-30s. And that looks like what Kyogo's career plan and life plan has turned out to be, as he's moved to Rennes in a bigger league, and then in time, I suspect he'll then go back and play a few seasons at one of the big Japanese clubs, and then retire and probably move into punditry on Japanese TV for his long-term career. That just about finishes things off for today's little transfer roundup video. Of course, as always, do feel free to pop your pleasant, polite comments into the comment section. Please keep the comments respectful. Please try and avoid swear words in the comments as well. It's not really needed. And so if you can, please keep the language clean and the comments respectful, as in my view, all Celtic fans and all football fans' views are equally valued and equally correct. And it's great to share views and opinions and insights and theories amongst like-minded, respectful, dedicated Celtic fans like me and you. If you have liked the video, please do click that like button. And also, if you are new to the channel and like the video or like the general content of the channel, please do click that subscriber button. Keep the numbers pushing up and up and up. Next target being 1,200 subscribers. Small potatoes for many of the channels, but for me, it would be a massive bonus and a massive target to reach by the end of the season. We'll be doing a Celtic Dundee preview video either later on today or first thing on Wednesday morning. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.